So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, today I got another video for you today. It's about Kamala Harris, you know, the vice president. She seemed to be doing her job as best as she can. And I noticed that when she became vice president, a lot of people were like, finally, we got the first black president or vice president or whatever we're trying to do. And everybody was like so happy for progress and everything. Finally, we did it. And I was the only one of the few people that was like, well, I don't really freaking care. Because I don't think she's gonna do anything for me. And I'm just surprised also how positive people were about her. But at the same time, I like, you guys have no idea what she has done in the past. She's a special person. If she had her background moved to Trump and somebody said, you know, Trump did this, it would open a whole can of worms.
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
If there is the possibility that somebody can relook at evidence in a case that is going under my watch, right, and this person can be free, I think I should give that person the opportunity to go out, especially if he's still in prison while they're doing the investigation. The fact that you're like, you know what, we're not gonna do that, because if we do that, too many people are gonna come forward and gonna challenge the system or something like that. I'm like, what are you on about? It should be a human right that men can test their freaking DNA in her case, for example, so they can go out. But she doesn't want to do that. And I was surprised.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. You're responsible.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who were on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
My entire career, I have been personally opposed to the death penalty, and that has never changed. And I dare anybody who is in a position to make that decision, to face the people I have faced, to say, I will not seek the death penalty. That is my background. That is my work. I am proud of it. I think you can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage, but when they're in the position to actually make a decision, what do they do? When I was in the position of having to decide whether or not to seek a death penalty on cases I prosecuted, I made a very difficult decision that was not popular to not seek the death penalty. History shows that, and I am proud of those decisions.
I'm surprised you're not popular, that you're like, you know what, release the evidence. Check out the blood to confirm if they were doing whatever with certain ladies in a forced way, and let them go. It's gonna come back.
She fiercely fought wrongful convictions and was shamed by judges when she was district attorney in San Francisco. What was the case? The Gage case?
George Gage.
The George Gage case, where her prosecutors hid evidence and they tried to protect. Once she knew that there was evidence that was withheld from defense attorneys, Once she should have known, in my opinion, that people were innocent, she tried to protect those convictions. Why? Because she wanted to continue winning. She blocked DNA. She went to great lengths to try to block access to DNA for people that were accused of or convicted of felonies. Think about it. We're talking about a $12 DNA test to see if the biological material from a crime that has been preserved is actually the defendant's, right? She blocked access to that. I mean, the list.
How do you block access to something like that? That seems like that should be a right.
Yeah, it seems like it should be a right, but in a lot of states, there's legislation that says you cannot get access to it, and the rationale behind it is that it will open up a floodgate of criminal defendants asking for the biological evidence in their case to be tested. I mean,
That's the last thing we would want is
Yeah.
more innocent people being freed. What was her justification for this?
You know, when she's asked for her justification of it, it's always been on a debate stage, and she'll always default to, I stand by my record as a prosecutor, and she's never had an explanation that I have ever seen.
Well, all I keep hearing when she keeps talking is like, it's my truth. No, it's my truth. And we did this and we did that. In general, I did changes, hard decisions that nobody dared to take. I fought people about this decision. But it's nothing like very concrete. But it's so messed up. I know that you don't want to open the floodgates. But then again, still, I'm like, dude, if somebody has been wrongfully convicted for something they haven't done, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's so many things. For example, at schools, if your parents don't watch their kids and they drop out and they don't go to school and they keep getting warnings, nothing happens. For example, she would go after the parents and try to find them, which I kind of understand. But the fact that she seems to have made a joke that we're going to arrest these people, we're going to arrest the moms and send them to prison. And I'm like, dude, what are you on about? Kids these days are so rebellious, you can't even say something because they have their human right. Taking the phone from your kids, oh, you're violating their human right. It's a human right to have Twitter. There's not much you can do. So if they don't want to go to school, it's kind of hard. It's kind of messed up. It's weird. So now you're creating a situation that you're going to arrest moms, and she's like, it's a joke. I don't care if it's a joke. You can't do that.
The people that she hurts the most are people of color in this country because they make up,
Disproportionate
big,
number of
disproportionate,
people in jail.
and so it's
Well,
kind
the
of
truant children thing made me fucking sick.
Awful.
She went after the parents of truant children and threatened them with jail time. Imagine you're a single mom. You're just doing your best to put food on the table. You have to work 2 jobs, and your kids are understandably fucking up and not going to school because there's no father around.
You're going after people, trying to win cases to prove a point so you can become president. Does that even make sense? Like putting people in a position, social justifying how hard you're going to work by trying to change the country. I'm going to arrest, I'm going to be tough on crime. And it's like this weird decision. That's how she kind of copied Joe Biden that arrested so many people, black people actually. And now she's doing that again. But now she's going to do it to other people because I want to make the community better. Do you see what you're doing? It's like you want more people to go to prison. But you don't want to give them the death penalty, but you want them to work for very low wages for these companies in these prisons that are private. I'm like, dude, I don't get what the heck is going on in a US. Whenever I see this stupid decision and how people think about people in US, you got these political people here on this side, and everybody's like, yeah, look at Kamala Harris. Look look at all the good things she has done. She's a black person. She can do it. I don't freaking care. Guys, look for the information. I know all politicians are gangster. Humongous amount of them. I'm not even joking. Maybe I should be a politician. And you have this weird progressive people trying to uphold, trying to show I'm doing the better progress thing. I'm not, and we are suffering. Actually, not me, but a lot of poor people. Because I can avoid the situation. I know how to handle myself that I don't get the attention that I don't deserve. That I'm like, people, you gotta inform yourself. Internet has everything. Don't keep listening to one news and be, I don't think my news is biased. No, listen to everything. Even the news from your enemies. It would surprise you that sometimes you're like, you know what? Maybe I should take an L in life.
John Restivo was convicted of raping and murdering someone with 2 of his friends. two people that work for him. He is framed by a cop. They take a hair from the victim and they plant it in his moving truck.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the way that they found out that it was planted is that when your hair, you're going to love this, right? When the hair is attached to the human head, when you die, there's a physiological phenomenon that happens called post-mortem root banding, where a band goes around the root of your hair, okay? And it happens after you've been dead the minimum 4 hours. Prosecution's theory is that he picks up this girl, 16-year-old girl, walking home from the roller skating rink with his two buddies, throws her in a van, they rape her, kill her, and dump her near a cemetery, and it all happens in 45 minutes. The way that they finally find out that he was framed is it's a moving truck. They search his moving truck, and they find hundreds of hairs, because we all shed hair. They find one hair from the victim, and it's pristine. It's the only pristine hair in the truck. No kinks on it, no dirt, no debris. And there's a post-mortem root band around it.
Oh, God.
Which means they had to have taken it from the autopsy.
After 4 hours.
After 4 hours. And we ended up finding out that the cop had access to the envelopes where the autopsy was. In any event, John Restivo, back to the DNA. The perpetrator ejaculated, and they had a lot of semen, a lot of biological material, DNA. He fought for years to get access to the DNA. Finally gets access to it. They test the DNA, and he's excluded, and his two co-defendants are excluded. All right? What the prosecutor does is they say, okay, well, there must have been a fourth perpetrator.
Oh,
So they
Jesus
start
Christ.
testing, and this is a process that took years. They start 5 years. They start testing every single known male associate of John Restivo, Dennis Halstead, and John Kogut, and they can't. And it's only after that that he gets out. He spent 18 years.
Oh, wait a second. So even if they knew it wasn't him, they decided to go test all my Facebook friends to be sure that none of them know me? So the more friends I had on Facebook, the longer I'm gonna stay in prison? That's so stupid.
For a rape and murder he didn't commit. He's, I love him. He's like a brother to me now, but, he's destroyed. You don't come back from
What
this.
happens to someone like that? Do they have any recourse? Is there anything that they can do?
There's a happy ending in that regard in John's story. I was one of the lawyers that represented him in his civil rights trial. He was awarded $18 million, $1 million for every year that he was incarcerated.
Damn.
And
I guess Kamala Harris got to be like, well, at least you got $18 million, so you should be happy now. You could have never made that money if you had a normal job.
show you what the lasting psychological damage. So we got to go to a civil jury for civil rights violations against Nassau County, which indemnified this cop that framed him. And he got some closure that way, to the extent that you can get any closure. And we were outside waiting for the verdict, outside of the courthouse. And he's smoking a cigarette. And he put out the cigarette and he took a a plastic bag out of his pocket, grabbed the butt and put it in the plastic bag and sealed it, put it in his pocket. I said, John, what the fuck are you doing? He said, you think I'm going to let someone take my DNA and frame me again?
That's so messed up. I mean, that's so messed up. It doesn't make any sense that you have to suffer something like that. And the guy's not gonna have his 18 years of his life back. And Kamala Harris is just gonna laugh. Just like she laughed at the border when I asked her, when are you going? Are you gonna do something? Because supposedly it seems to be her job to handle the immigration stuff.
Do you plan to visit the border?
Not today, but I have before, and I'm sure I will again.
People are going to the border when your own president opened his arm and said, hey, let my people come, Now the thing became so gangster. People with COVID is coming in and you're supposed to go there. People want you to sympathize with people, not by saying, I've sent people, I've been there, but you mean your minions have been there. You haven't been there. People want you to sympathize. If somebody says my father passed away in a car, it's different than if they tell me he passed away. You can see the face and everything. You have a different feeling, a different effect, what really is needed there, other than your minion's opinion, what is needed there. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And it just surprised me. And the latest interview, because when the Guatemalan president was like, yo, dude, you guys messed up, right? And she went there. She had the interesting talk. She said, everybody don't come. It's not ready. I mean, like, well, it's kind of weird though. But surprisingly, she did some interviews.
Let's see the people, let's see their needs, and let's focus on it and understand our responsibility.
Why will it be successful this time if it wasn't in the past?
Well, I think there was success about what happened in the past. And again, when you look at what we're doing now, you're seeing progress. And so let's not overlook progress.
Yeah, but the progress is kind of slow when you're the reason that create a reason that you had to add progress. That's the problem. If it's a 5 and you let us go to a 3 and then you get to a 5 back supposedly because you're still working on it, you can't tell me it's progress. I wanted to be a 7. Do you see my point? It's so disingenuous, and you want me to empathize with a black person because she understands where I'm coming from? Hell no. Most of politicians don't even understand where I'm coming from. They eat with silver spoons. Does that make any sense? No, you're not as poor as me.
Just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border.
Your minions have been to the border. You have not been at the border. Stop saying it like that. So, you cheated on me. But I love you. You know I love you. No, I don't know you love me because I wouldn't have you shouldn't cheat on me. But I love you. And no. Why?
So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And
No.
I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, is this like a SNL skit? Because sometimes she makes like weird faces and she seems to be like funny. I think she could be an amazing comedian because she seems to be weird, delusional, or sarcastic, and it can actually be funny. But I'm just surprised. This is the vice president.
I mentioned it because even I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border. I'm in Guatemala. Because my focus is dealing with the root causes of migration. There may be some who think that is not important, but it is my firm belief that if we care about what's happening at the border, we better care about the root causes and address them. And so that's what I'm doing.
So let's be honest. I don't think you're addressing the problem at its core. Because the problem wasn't because the people want to leave the island of Guatemala. There's always going to happen. You're not going to solve the woe situation of all these poor people in Guatemala. You know why? Because you can't even solve your own. So why are you there trying to prove something that you're not even successful at? That doesn't make any sense. It's not like you opened your arms and says, you know what, we sent a bunch of vaccine to them because we wanted to help them. Did you? Did you open your arms and told everybody, hey people, come over here. We got vaccines, and that's why they traveled so long for the vaccine? No. You just said, just drop your baby here. Life is Gucci. We will do the rest. You know? It's like a drive-through, but the baby dumped through or something like that. I don't know. I'm trying to make sense what your politics is because it's just weird. So if you want to focus on the root cause, what I see at least in Kamala Harris or the whole Biden administration, well, don't open your mouth. Because the root cause is that if you didn't say anything, if you did not want to get any social point, nobody would have been at the border. The border was kind of controlled. Nobody was in gangster situation. And once you even started, you didn't even allow nobody to go to film anything. And once they're there, everybody's like, please have sympathy and understand their condition. Are you freaking kidding me? If I tell certain children to come and they come in a very bad situation, I'm gonna hide it because my intentions were right? No, I don't believe it. I don't even understand your agenda. I don't even know what you're doing. But now it got so much attention. Instead of focus on your own country, you're focusing on the problem of a different country. Your resources, your time. You're not even checking your own people. Remember all the black peoples that voted for you that you said if they didn't, they ain't black? What are you doing for them? They're rioting like crazy in the poorest country. They're defunding their own people. And now the crime rate is going up in their own places. Girls are getting trying to stab people. Oh, but that's normal. Oh my God, no. It's the end of the world. What are you guys doing? It's like the black people that voted for you are in the worst position right now. With all these laws created by you, Biden, Kamala, arrested so many black people. I'm just so surprised. It's like a Black Mirror episode. But Kamala Harris version. Directed by Joe Biden.
Don't get me wrong, ako sa kita bong. Buta fire na mi blonde, kush hash, purple skunk, criollo, colombici, jam, turlo, queta, verdeta, welcome.